Hello. Now that we've learned the basic concepts of the secondary dominant, today we're going to put them in context, put them in the context of SATB 4-part writing. So, as you can see, I prepared a little example here. Just three very short progression, 3 chords in the key of B flat major. And it starts on the tonic and it's gonna move through a secondary dominant and land on 5 there. Okay, so the ultimate goal is actually just a tonic to dominant there. But now that we've learned about the secondary dominant, we're going to dress up the 5, intensify the 5 chord by using a secondary dominant, a 5-7 of 5 there. Okay. So once we finish writing this, we'll also listen to what it sounds like. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get started there. All right, so the first one, let's change to a different color so you can see a little better. So the first thing I like to do is not to write every single note, but to start with a baseline according to the Roman numerals. So the first chord we're going to write is a 1 chord, and we know 1 chord in the key of B flat major is the root position, tonic triad, B flat, D, and F. So I'll just go ahead and take some notes there, B flat, D, and F. And the next thing I'm gonna do is actually to skip the secondary dominant 7, but go to the 3rd chord, which is the 5 in the key of B flat. So B flat, if we think of the scale together, B flat, C, D, E flat, F, a 5 chord will start on the F. And from there you build a major triad, FAC. Okay, so now we're gonna come back and figure out then what should the middle chord be. So that's a 5 of 5. We just figure out that 5 in the key of B flat is FAC. So that tells us C is actually going to be the root of this chord. If C is the root of this chord, and we also know that dominant 7, the quality of dominant 7 chords is always a major minor 7, we can go ahead and spell a major triad, C, E, G, adding a minor 7. Alright, so now that we took care of the chord tones, let's go ahead and write the bass notes. So the first one will be B flat, the second one will be a C, and the third one will be an F. It can either go up or down, up to you. I will let it go up today. Okay, so now that we have our baseline, next step is to put the other chord tones in the upper voices. So the first one we have here is a triad, B flat, D, and F. So obviously, in order to put 3 notes in SATB 4 parts, we need to double one of them. The most common one to be kept, to be doubled, is always the root in a major triad. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. B flat, we need a B flat, we need a D, we need an F. So I'm gonna go ahead and space them out. I'll put F, I'll give F to the tenor, D to the alto, and I'll double the root of the chord in the soprano. And we can double check. B flat in the bass, B flat in the soprano, D, chordal 3rd in the alto, F, chordal 5th in the tenor. So now I'm off to a good start. Okay, now let's go on. So the second chord we're going to spell out is this secondary dominant, 5-7 of 5 right here, C, E, G, B flat. We earlier figured that out. So C, E, G, B flat. Now, good news, we have 4 notes, 4 different pitches, 4 parts, so doubling is not really an issue. However, you also learned, if you remember, in the dominant 7, sometimes one of the notes can be omitted. One of the notes can be left out. And if that's because of voice leading, because of a smoother voice leading, or how to avoid voice leading problems. If it has to be done, the fifth is the one to be left out. Why is it the fifth? Because if we look at the chord, C is the root. You can never leave out the root of any chord. That is the root. If we leave it out, it's a different chord. And the third and the seventh, these are tendency tones. The third is the leading tone. In this case, it's a leading tone. It's a local leading tone to the next chord, E to F. So leading tone is a very significant. It has much higher tonal significance there, so it can never be left out. And the seventh cannot be left out, because if we leave it out, we're writing a triad. It's no longer a seventh chord. So that's the reason why if anything is going to be left out, it's going to be the chord of fifth. Okay, so keep that in mind. Maybe we won't need that, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we have C, E, G, and B flat. Good news, B flat is already in the soprano, which means it's a common tone between the two chords. We love common tones. Whenever you have common tones, you keep it in the same voice. That makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so now that we have C, we have the B flat, we still need the E, and we maybe need the G, or maybe not. So let's take a look. So what's important is to see where the previous notes are. So we have a D here, we have an F here. So it's actually very convenient to just move the D up to the E and F up to the G. So now we have C, E, G, B flat, 4 chord tones. However, is that really accurate? Let's take another look here. So if I can draw your attention to the tenor and bass voice, B flat to F, that's a perfect fifth. And here, in the second chord, C to G, that's also a perfect fifth. What did you just see? A parallel fifth. Parallel fifth, parallel octave is never okay in part writing in this style. So you don't want to commit that crime. So what does that tell us? We'll need to change it. So change it so that we don't have that parallel fifth there. So that means we probably will need to omit the fifth of that chord. And if we do omit the fifth, we're going to need to double one of them. And the chord tone to be doubled, again, is the root. So here. Yes, the tenor jumps a little bit, but this is an acceptable jump there. It's a tonal jump. Okay, before we go on, there's actually one thing that we haven't double checked. Let's see. We now have a C, E. The key signature actually makes this an E flat. But do we want an E flat? No, we want this to be a major minor 7th chord. So what does that tell us? We need an accidental to raise that to an E natural so that it doesn't get affected by the key signature. And G was left out, and B flat is up here in the soprano. So now we're good. Now that we double checked everything, we're ready to move on to the next chord. Okay, so moving on to the next chord, it's very important to know where you're going. We already figure out it should be F, A, C here. That also tells us this chord, there's going to be some kind of doubling in there. Okay, but what's more important is actually to know how, since we're looking at a 5/7 of 5, it's a dominant 7 chord. It's a secondary dominant 7. So anything you learned about dominant 7 still applies, which means there are tendency tones. So let's label them. We have a C, which is a root. We have another C, which is a second root. And we have an E, which is a third. And we have the B flat, which is the chordal 7th there. Okay. And according to what you learned, if you remember from the previous review, third goes up, 7 goes down. Those are the tendency tones in the 5/7 that have to be resolved in a certain direction. So if we remember that, that makes things a lot easier. So this chord, F, A, C. F, A, C. Bass is already taken care of. And C in the tenor voice. Tenor voice. Ooh, come on tone. We love come on tone. Come on tone is a great thing. Makes our life a lot easier. So you keep the come on tone. And we still need an A, and we probably will double the F. So let's see. Oh, earlier we said the alto, E natural in the alto is the third, chordal third in the secondary dominant 7. It's also the leading tone in the key of F. So it has to go to the F. And then the B flat in the soprano is the chordal 7th in the 5 in this secondary dominant 7. And that's also another tendency tone, so it has to step down right there. So now we have completed our 1 to 5, 7 of 5 to 5 in the key of B flat. Let's hear it together. Okay, so now I'll play the progression that we just wrote. So I actually, if you noticed, I actually added a chord at the end just so that it sounds complete. It comes back to 1. So this is a key we're in B flat major. That's 1, 5, 7 of 5, resolving to 5, and now adding back the 1 that I added at the end. So without the 5, 7 of 5, it's just a 1, 5, 1. And now by adding that 5, 7 of 5, it intensifies that motion.